Proprioception, never even heard of it, so how I lost it, I don't know. It's a complete, well, hey, what's that? Very scary stuff. I was working in Jersey about 30 years ago as a butcher. Got what I thought was flu, and gradually got weaker and weaker and weaker, and was eventually taken into hospital and woke up the following morning with no ability to control movement. I still had movement, and I could move an arm and I could move a leg, but I had no very fine control over that. The consequences were that I couldn't control my body without looking at what was happening. It wasn't for some time that I found that key, that I had to associate vision with picking up feedback.
Ian is one of fewer than 15 people in the world who have no proprioception. He has no sense of touch below the neck, and he's unable to sense where his limbs are or how they're moving. With the help of neurophysiologist Jonathan Cole, he's become the only sufferer from this rare condition to regain his mobility.
Ian has lost this odd thing called proprioception, which is the sensation of movement and position sense, so that if he doesn't look at an arm, he doesn't know where it is.
When you stand and when you dance, you don't necessarily think about where exactly am I in time and space. I actually think about all the processes that go on behind that, developing the movement. Am I safe? Am I in the right position?
And then slowly he realised that if he looked at a moving part and then thought and willed it to move, he could control that movement.
It took me an awful long time to learn just to stand. And I even say that today, one of the toughest things that I have to do is to stand perfectly still. It was very, very difficult to learn the concept that if you put an arm out, you'd go that way. That's what things do. So I had to lean slightly that way. And they tried to use mirrors, which you use as a dancing field. And I tried that, but I just couldn't work it all together quickly enough in my head. So I very quickly gave up the mirrors and just concentrated on looking down, which is why I walk in the way that I do, which is inclined forward and looking down, so I can catch my whole body, so I can monitor and control and look at what's happening.
You're literally dependent on being able to see your foot so that you know it's done the right thing.
When you're walking down the road, you don't think about every step that you're taking. I do, otherwise I lose touch with where things are. And when we were walking over the Millennium Bridge earlier, I had to stop and admire the view rather than just sort of like glance up as I was walking along, because to have glanced up would have taken the feedback that I require away.
So if you close your eyes...
If I was to close my eyes, I'd stay in this position. That's quite an easy thing to do, but freeze certain muscles and freeze into a posture. But if we go back the 25 years or so when I was first disabled, if I was to close my eyes for more than a few seconds, I'd fall over. I hadn't learned these strategies of freezing the tummy muscles.
I think I'm understanding what you physically have to go through, but what is the neurological explanation for what Ian's going through?
There are peripheral nerves that go to the skin, go to the muscles, go to the joints. And some of those are movement nerves, so when they fire, bits of you move, and some are sensation nerves. In Ian, he had an infection, and he raised an antibody which actually attacked the nerve cells and wiped them out. Just the sensory nerves conveying touch, movement and position sense.
So you can send messages to your body in exactly the same way as me, but you don't get the message back which tells you what you've done.
Yeah, I don't get the acknowledgement saying, yeah, that's right, you got it right, now move on to the next stage.